Hello and welcome to Atomic Facepalm. I am Chris.
And I'm Bree.
And this is Atomic Facepalm Weekly, episode 22 and a half.
No, it's just 22 straight.
Thanks everybody for tuning in once again. We really do like it when you tune in. You can always let us know what you think in the comments below. That'd be awesome. Or you subscribe. Or you can subscribe. That'd be great too.
And this is available in podcast form. And as always, there's links down below to timestamps of the things we're talking about. And anything we talk about, there'll be a link down below to that article or whatever.
Excellent. So we're going to go ahead and start off the show like we normally do. A little segment that I like to refer to as the Gamer Tamer.
Are you asking what games I played this week?
Yes, I am. Well,
continuing the trend with it being summer and me playing 0 games, but still talking about them on a gaming podcast. I played like 2 games this week. Warhammer 40K, which we've been playing quite a bit of.
Tabletop
game.
Yeah.
That, and then I played actually a few hours of Oxygen Not Included.
Yeah, I saw a game on there, and I was wondering what that was.
Yeah, no, it's pretty cool, but it is early access. You know, I know that I ranted last week about early access games and not caring a crap about early access games, but so I was looking on Steam and I was like, I have to play a game this week. I have to have something to talk about. And so I looked through like a bazillion different indie games, and this one really stood out. It's not new to early access. I think it came out this spring on there. It's by the same people that did Don't Starve, Klee Entertainment, I think is how you pronounce it. They're a Canadian developer, whatever.
Okay.
It looks really cute on the surface. It looks like, you got your little guys and they're starting up their base underground. So it's a little bit Minecrafty, a little bit Sims.
Okay.
But it's actually really in-depth sim. So you look at it and you're like, oh, I got to build a shitter for them to shit in, and I got to dig some tunnels and, harvest some resources. But as you start getting into it, like the oxygen, for example, is really key resource, and you kind of got overlays and different things to make sure that they always have enough oxygen. You got to build different things. It's pretty awesome game.
Sounds like a dwarf simulator.
I guess. I to me it was like Minecraft meets Sims meets, I don't know. It's pretty awesome actually.
The art style looked kind of cool. Very simple, but
yeah, and
well cared for.
So it's similar to Don't Starve, where you kind of got your WASD to move around the flat map. But this time it's a side view instead of a top-down view. I think it's pretty awesome, actually. I thought it was pretty cool. So I only scratched the surface of it. I started trying to lay out electricity so that I could fuel their oxygen generator. And that started to be complicated for me in a way that SimCity, I never felt like I ever got the electricity thing in SimCity ever. There was always this whole block over here is like, we need electricity. I'm like, oh my God, I've ran electricity there. And so it was kind of a little similar to that, but there's just enough tutorial to kind of get you going, and then you just kind of got to figure things out, which really works. And I don't know if that's an early access thing or if that's what their plan is, but it's got a couple things in the top left, kind of like, oh, these guys need to shit soon, so you better build an outhouse, and oh, the air isn't very good, and you're losing oxygen, so you got to build this thing or that thing. But not in your face, click here to do this thing, holding your hand. More of an exploratory kind of tutorial.
What are some of the consequences if you don't do those things?
Your guys go nuts. So they can go crazy. They can start ripping their hair out. They don't do their tasks. They fall over. They start stress vomiting. Start bashing their head against the wall. I mean, it's like Sims in the fact that they all have different needs. So they've got to there's massage tables that you can build to kind of de-stress them, or all that kind of stuff.
Sounds like it's almost has some Darkest Dungeon dynamics in there.
It does actually. So a little bit of Darkest Dungeon in there. And you get these duplicates is what they call the different people, and every so many days you get another duplicate, and they're kind of randomized and they have different skills. Like this guy's obviously really good at cooking and he's your chef, and so you can go through and kind of check mark and be like, whenever there's a cooking job, this is my guy, that's my cooking guy. And whenever there's an art job and somebody needs to paint and painting, this is my guy. So they all have very, you kind of can choose out of 3, like, I want this guy, I want the cook, I need a cook right now, or you can refuse a duplicate.
Huh.
I thought it was really cool. It seemed really developed so far for being early access. I know that I just shit all over early access last week, but this game was actually right out of the gate. I was like, all right, I'm down with this game. I love Sims and strategy kind of games. Like those are my jams. So this was one of those games I like. Within 20 minutes of playing, I was like, oh, okay, yeah.
There aren't too many really good sim-like strategy games, I feel like. Discounting the ones if you're going towards, Civ 5 or Age of Empires. That's more an RTS, I guess. But actual simulation games that are really damn good.
Yeah, so it's got that kind of cartoony, you don't need to care thing that gets you into it. And then you start, as you explore it more, it's a much deeper thing and get all this information about your different guys. The interface was really straightforward. So that, again, that led to that, like, without having a tutorial, I kind of could figure out what was going on and how to do it. So I don't know. I'd recommend it if you're interested in that kind of thing at all. If you like Don't Starve, check it out. It's early access again, so asterisks on the whole thing. Who knows? But they've obviously developed solid games before of this style, so
they know what they're doing in that regard. Yeah.
Yeah. No, and it's not like, I don't know. I recommend it. It's in this little lull before, like, when I think it's next week when
we're
things
coming
start
up on it,
blowing up. Then maybe there's not time for it. But right now, it was perfect, and I wished I had started playing it like 3 weeks ago.
Well, I think one of the main complaints, if I remember correctly, that you had with early access was it stays in early access for so long.
Yeah, and that
is an annoying trend. I understand that there are betas and there are alphas. For whatever reason, early access feels longer than both of those.
It really does. It feels like games are the development cycle, maybe because there's a lot more smaller studios and they can't just snap the games out. But it feels like development time has been longer lately, or there's this kind of sitting on early access or sitting in these betas where it's just forever and ever, and it's like, okay, give me the game, put a stamp on it and say this is the game that I'm giving to you. Yeah, maybe I'll patch it later, but here's my game.
Or just maybe an arbitrary goal, even if it's not 100%, just something to look towards. So for Pit People, for example, there was just kind of like, well, it's going to be in early access till whenever.
And so for Pit People, again, that we've seen that at several 2 years in a row. We've been watching that at PAX, being like, oh, I love their games. I'm interested in this game. When's it coming out? And there's just nothing. It's like crickets. Like, just give me a spring 2018 or spring 2019, and I can just kind of wrap my head around that. Any kind of loose date. I know that things get wonky and out of things, but just give me something.
There is a small part of me that misses the time when there was no early access, when getting into a beta was for the cherished few and the 1%ers. Mm-hmm. You had to get lucky enough or have the connections. There was something really special to me about getting a game, let's say like Doom 3 when that came out, or Half-Life 2, or Team Fortress 2, or Portal, when it was completely surprising. And while I like transparency in game development studios, I think that's a good thing. I think it helps keep them honest, and you get feedback from gamers, so it's appropriate and useful for them. But I miss that. I miss just being utterly surprised. Now, you don't have to do early access, right? But it takes a lot of discipline. And a lot of people want to know about early access. So it's kind of tough to just close your eyes and ignore it. But yeah, there's a small part of me that's like, early access has its merits, but I miss the golden days of, the game comes out, you play it.
Yeah, in my ideal world, early access would be like a 3-month window, and then we get the game.
Sure.
Or maybe they shut it down, and then you get the game in a month or whatever. I don't know. But yeah, so anyways, that's what I played this week. Warhammer 40K, which is not a video game, and then Oxygen
it is, though.
Not included.
There are many Warhammer 40K video games.
I'm talking about that I played 8th edition tabletop. That's what I was playing.
Yeah.
Which I am enjoying quite a bit right now. But
grows on you.
It does. I'm getting there. And that's it for me. So what did you play this week?
Well, I'm still in the Mage's Tale. And what I'm discovering is, so I was like, why aren't there that many VR reviews? Why aren't they as numerous and ubiquitous as traditional reviews? I think I've got it now.
Okay.
You can't spend that much time in VR. So
yeah.
So like, okay, so here's an example. We get Torment Tides of Numenera, right? Mm-hmm. And it's an awesome game. We like it, and you can just power through this.
Well,
it's a long game, but you could spend, if you wanted
Saturday,
to, sure.
It's playing 6-8 hours,
yes,
no problem.
12 hours
Easy.
even, if you needed to. And it might burn your eyes out a little bit after a while, but it's not going to screw you up. The problem I'm having with VR, I don't know if it's a problem. I imagine most people are going to behave similarly, is after 2 hours, it feels like half a day. Mm-hmm. And you can't just play 2 hours, take a little bit of rest, and go back in. It's like your brain just needs to recharge.
Yeah.
That's the issue. Like I have been playing the Mage's Tale. I thought I had like 6 hours in it. I have like 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
And the weird part is it feels like so much longer. Not in a bad way. It's fun being in it. But it's really strange how it's like Inception, where when you're in VR, time goes to a crawl. And the other thing is the headset's fine. It's light. And then we did a review video on VR, which is still pretty worth watching, I'd say. I don't think much has changed since we reviewed it. It's a headset, so you have to adjust it sometimes, and you sweat a little bit, it itches. So you're kind of adjusting it a lot. So I feel like that's probably the reason. It's just really hard. So let's say a game comes out in VR, and you want to get it reviewed and put out there quickly. It's tough to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
Without vomiting everywhere.
Yeah, no, after like an hour or so in the Mage's Tale, I was feeling pretty woozy. And I'm pretty sensitive to that stuff anyways. I feel like I'm very, not motion sick, but just in games, whenever there's something weird, my eyes just can't deal with it. Yeah, so an hour in Mage's Tale, I was like, that's it for a couple days. Because you get that feeling. It's like, now I've played Mage's Tale and I enjoyed it, but I also have this layer of like feeling kind of ill. Like when you eat something and you get sick later, it's that you never want to eat that thing again. That's kind of what's happened for me for Mage's Tale,
That's the only thing I would caution people for is Mage's Tale, especially with the way you can move, which kind of defies most other VR games. And I like that they're going for it. But the fact that you can move incrementally, almost fluidly, it just screws with your head. Throws off your equilibrium. It makes you just feel woozy after a few hours.
It does.
There was a few nights ago I was playing it, and I wanted to keep playing it. Like I really did, but I just couldn't. I just couldn't stay in it. Yeah. It was giving me a headache. I was getting I was starting to kind of fall over. Mm-hmm. So I still love the game. I would and they've updated it like 3 times. So they're sticking to it.
They are, and I definitely say that every time it's been updated, I've noticed that the load times go down a little bit.
Oh, they've got so much better.
Yeah, so they're definitely working on it. They're responding to people. I mean, inXile has been a good studio anyway, so they're standing by the game. It's a cool game. I say as a VR game, but I don't know that I can just... You're right. I can't power through it. And for me, for VR, it's really... The little arcadey games are what I like, what I enjoy the most.
And stuff that I really want to knock this. We haven't done a review in such a long time. Just one, because there haven't been, I don't feel like that many games that have been interesting to us. Mm-hmm. And look, if we're not interested in the game, I don't know if it's fair to review it just based off you're like kind of fatigued. And so we basically, if we're going to review a game, it's going to be one that we want to review.
Or that I feel like I have something to say about that someone else, you know what I mean? Like we reviewed Space Hulk or whatever, and I shit all over that game, but I felt like I had things to say.
Yeah. So, but no, the Mage's Tale, I really wanted to get that review out. One, I really hope the video capture has been working. I have not checked that. I think it has been. We had an issue with the VR audio, but I think that's been rectified.
That was more just I had... The VR video, I didn't bother with the sound in that. So it was me just editing it in a way that was different than other things.
But that's really what I've been playing. I played a touch of Minecraft. We had issues in our house before where we tried to play co-op and it didn't work correctly, but that seems to be gone now. So a little bit, we still have a creative world we've had for like 2 years now. So it's fun to kind of go back, and I forgot a lot of the stuff I made. It's kind of neat going back and seeing all the progress I had done.
I probably actually haven't played Minecraft in a year and a half. Almost.
Yeah, it's been a while.
A year at least. I still like that game. Actually, that was one of those games that almost made my top 5 just because I have kids, and there's really no other game has given me such a good experience. Just play with my kids and have fun and do whatever. And
it's a really good game. I feel a little dirty now just from all that Notch stuff. It's not his IP anymore, and I understand that, but it's like, was he like this the whole time? And just no one knew it. And we talked about trying to separate the artists from their work. But boy, they just playing it for those few minutes. I was like, this is a brilliant game. But God, the guy that made it's kind of a dick.
Not kind of a dick. He's a huge fucking wanker.
Yeah.
Like, I'll come right out and say that.
What
like,
happened, man?
I don't know. And he took a red pill.
It tarnishes it a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, again, he's not involved in it whatsoever anymore, but he made the game, right?
Stole the game.
Well, yeah.
I don't know. That's a whole nother discussion. So,
but I played a little bit of that, as you said, Warhammer 40K. But the video games I have been playing have been The Mage's Tale and a tiny bit of Minecraft. Mm-hmm. And we're going to talk a little bit about inXile in a minute here, too, so we'll come back to them. But for the time being, this was an article I had discovered. I'm on a few media mailing lists, and this one came in on Twitter and on my media mailing list. And it's actually about media coverage at conventions. It was written by Evolve PR, run by a fellow named Tom Oley. Pretty good dude. They cover quite a few games. They did PR for The Witcher, some big-time games in there. And it's interesting. It kind of verifies what I always thought was the case. So I'm actually going to bring this up here and cite some statistics. That's the worst word to say when you're recording. Yeah, seriously. For anyone trying to do voiceover professionally, they when you go through your VO scripts, they will purposely there's blacklisted words, and statistics is always number 2 or 3.
I can see
that.
The
hardest word to get.
I get stuck on that one.
Yeah, statistics. Statistically,
I think most people just breeze through that word and hope that no one's going to notice that they didn't quite articulate those different statistics.
Rural is the other one.
Rural juror.
Yeah, the rural juror.
The rural juror.
Try saying that without marbles in your mouth. Good luck. So they sampled 100 media outlets, which they didn't say who they were, which is fine. And they did it from PAX East, GDC, and PAX West. So big time conventions here. These aren't like mom pop conventions.
Not big these time. Those are big time.
Yeah. So here's what they did was they wanted to kind of see out of all the people or the media sites they sampled, what percentage of articles or announcements or pushes they got from it. So 44.7% got one article or mention, which is pretty staggering.
So they took the whole sample size of everybody that went?
Yes.
So big AAA games and little indie games, and out of them
44.7% got a single article or even a mention.
And I feel like most of those guys are probably true. That seems like a weird statistic to me.
It doesn't. See, I told you. There's a reason that blacklist exists.
Now I feel like I'm saying it.
It's an interesting piece of data.
I like it. Okay.
Yep. And so I won't go into all of the list here, but 18% got 2 articles mentioned. So it falls way down after that. The idea being for all the media outlets that covered these games from their appointments that they tracked. So let's say IGN. I'm just throwing out whatever media site, but let's say IGN went there and they covered 50 games. This is saying that they only mentioned one article out of all those for one game. And the idea is if you're marketing, you want to get as many mentions and you want to get your games out there. So what they're basically saying is for everyone that books appointments, even these big time outlets, you're really kind of not getting much.
Well, I think that you're not getting much as a smaller person. I think you're getting it sounded like it went up, right? Certain games, very small percentage of games got more than one article written about them. So if you're a big game, Assassin's Creed, everybody's going to write a stupid fucking article about you
which is weird to me because you would think there'd be a lot of fatigue. But I think what he writes about in this article, too, is it really comes down to a case of these guys have so much money when you're coming to an Ubisoft or even Epic Games or some of the bigger studios with large production houses and publishers. They can just dump money so they have a crew of 20 there and they can run around, they can give away swag, they can do all these things that really is just financially impossible for mortals.
I think more of that comes down to a lot of these bigger game studios are putting out their 8th game in one series. So you know what a Call of Duty game is, and you like Call of Duty 1, you're going to like this Call of, you know what I mean? Or this Assassin's Creed, you're going to like this, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. Whereas smaller games, you might get on a list of top 5 games that we thought were underreported.
Right, which we kind of did, right? We did our top games of 2017. I think that would count as a mention, not an article. I think an article is defined as a dedicated piece of media for that particular game. And
I think that is very true, that a smaller game, they're going to get in roundups, but they're not going to get a full article written about them, for sure.
So part of it is, I have a lot of experience here from my past work in professional games journalism. not to say what we're doing here isn't professional, but
It's not.
we're in a kitchen.
It's absolutely. It's a dining
When
room.
I actually got paid to do it for a living, it was extremely challenging, one, to line up your appointments. Usually everyone wanted to get you in there between 10 and 12 because there's a lot of fatigue that sets in after that. So it was really hard to book up your appointments. And even when you did, you were lucky if you got 3 or 4 a day. Because there's a lot of walking at PAX, at E3, you could be 20 minutes between appointments. And what you really want to do is you want to take your notes and you want to kind of reflect on them. So really, you have to pick and choose. And it's tough. And a lot of the time, you go in there and they really just kind of talk to you a little bit. You play 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and you don't have a whole lot to write an article on. And that's challenging. It's like, well, I want to kind of let people know I'm excited about this game or what I like and don't like, but you don't have that much time at these conventions to do that.
Yeah, I don't understand sometimes how they get all that content out because you're just so overwhelmed with everything that happened that day. I feel like it's going to be a team of like 30 people to...
Conventions weren't really all that awesome when I was doing it professionally because, again, your workday is going out there from 10 a.m. until 8 p.m., and then, honestly, the rest of the night, if you're responsible, was writing, then you repeat. It's not like you go... I mean, we go to parties and stuff, but for the most part, it was working 18-hour days. Now, look, you're going to a gaming convention. I will put working in quotation marks. Believe me, it ain't the hardest job ever. But you're still on your feet, and you're still using your brain.
Yeah, and you're taking in a lot of information. So, yeah, it was a good article. That'll be linked down below. I thought it was kind of interesting, too.
Just FYI, the number one game at PAX East 2017 was Final Fantasy 15.
15, like I just said before, it's a game that they've made like 8 or 10 of them. And
I just want to mention the second one because we're going to talk about it in a separate article for hilarious reasons. The second one was Mass Effect, which didn't even have the game. They just had a little like separate area away from the show floor with pre-recorded video.
And that's Mass Effect 4.
Andromeda.
Yeah, but it's Mass Effect 4. You know what I mean? People, they're a fan for a reason, and yeah, whatever.
And we will get back to that for very funny reasons.
Yeah, anyways.
October 27th is the apex of everything, Brie.
This is just a quick little thing. It was a Polygon article, and they figured out that pretty much October is like the release month, and then happens to be October 27th is many things. So Stranger Things Season 2.
Yes.
Wolfenstein 2, The New Colossus.
Do you call it Wolfenstein? There's
Wolfenstein?
there's a lot of arguments over
Can we
this
not
one.
draw attention to how I pronounce anything at all? Because most likely I'm doing it wrong.
No, but this is like a 50-50 split.
Well, I think Stein anywhere is always been because it's the last name too. I mean, so many things end with Steen and Stein.
We had a guy in the Air Force, a captain, and his last name was Steen or Stein, and depending on your interpretation, he was either the Steiner or the Steiner.
Yeah, see?
I prefer the Steiner.
The Stein. Well, how do you say?
Wolfenstein. But a lot of people call it Wolfenstein. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer.
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
So let's not draw attention to how Bree pronounces anything because it's probably wrong. Anyways. Cloverfield's 2017 sequel.
Forgot about that movie.
I forgot. I didn't even know this was coming out. So 10 Cloverfield Lane has another thing in the series?
I think this is a direct sequel to the original Cloverfield, where 10 Cloverfield Lane just happened to take place in the same universe. It's like the Marvel Extended Universe.
I definitely
Cloverfield Extended Universe.
Cloverfield Lane wasn't my favorite movie in the whole entire world, but I liked it better than Cloverfield by a long shot.
Yeah.
Anything with, what's his name?
John Goodman.
Yes, that's the guy.
Saul Goodman.
Assassin's Creed Origins, which, the
45th in the series.
Yeah, and Super Mario Odyssey, which people are, very jazzed up about, and everybody's favorite Jigsaw, which I also don't give a shit about, but I just thought it was kind of funny. October 27th seems to be pretty happening.
A lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
Also, this is referring to inXile we talked about before. They got $4.5 million of investment capital from Gummy. See, this is another one. I actually say it.
Gummy?
Gummy. Whichever that is.
They're
getting it for an open-world survival RPG VR game. Now, that, folks, is pretty bold. For many of the reasons I already mentioned, this is not VR is not the appropriate arena for farming or spending loads and loads of time fighting mobs. I like the idea. I like the ambition. I'd like to know what their target release date is, and because I feel like the way VR is now, this is a tough sell.
It is a tough sell. For one, people seem to be hesitant to get on the VR train. For two, as you mentioned, the fatigue that you get from VR with the current resolution in the headset. I feel like if the resolution in the headset got better, then it would stop doing such a weird thing to my eyes. I don't know. It's like when you're trying to squint and read it or in a car, or it's that kind of thing. So maybe if the headsets have improved by the time, I mean, they just got this investment. So we're a few years out from whatever this is.
Yeah.
At least. So I think it's interesting. I definitely think that inXile is already put down that saying like we're prepared to see where VR can go, and I'm appreciating that for sure.
Sure.
But I don't know about a survival, open world. Everybody's on this open world survival thing.
Like PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, right? That's one of the most famous ones right now.
Is that?
Yeah.
I was thinking more like Ark or something. I thought it's I'm gonna date
PUBG.
myself. PUBG, because I have not played that because I know that I'll just walk out there and die immediately. I thought that was more of like this sandbox and you kind of join and see how long you can live, but it's not in the way that like Rust or Ark or something where you're trying to build your own little place and survive like off the land.
Yeah, I could be wrong. I clearly haven't played it either, so
I
grain of salt.
My understanding of PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds or whatever it is that that's more of like a shooting game, and then you see what kind of shenanigans you can get into, and it's kind of a sandbox to play around and do whatever.
Yep, that could be.
Okay.
I have no experience.
We should probably not speak of games that we have no experience about, but yeah.
I like just random conjecture. Those are kinds of evidence.
Mm-hmm. That's something that you're saying.
So,
those
and apparently,
are some words.
yeah, just throwing words in the microphone here.
Yeah, sure.
And Gumi apparently has a little bit of notoriety with it. It's a Japanese specific company.
Gummy? Gumi?
Yeah, how the hell you
Gummy
say it?
bears?
See, these are things I should do before
Bouncing
I actually
here and there
record.
and everywhere.
They taste delicious. So a few people on Twitter were saying, yeah, it's cool, but, Gummy, they're a little not quite so sure. But I think as long as they're just like, the people who finance it, and if they let inXile do their thing, inXile's got a good track record. Mm-hmm. I have no doubts that they will make a fine game. My trepidation is how long I'm willing to spend in presumably a very intensive survival game. So.
Yeah, same. So, but who knows?
I didn't know that had a phone on.
It doesn't have a phone on. It's going to tell me about a phone thing. My watch is telling me somebody's calling me. And
answer your watch, dude.
It is the census lady who is persistent and crazy, and I don't want to do the stupid census. Leave me alone. Go away.
Oh, she's right there? No, I'm kidding.
No, I got to follow up.
So, building off of the, I guess you want to call it success, depending on your interpretation, of the Super Nintendo and Nintendo box.
It's a success. They just not a success for everybody.
Yeah, they actually found the success, and they're like, yeah, we don't want the success.
So the NES Classic and the...
Yeah, the SNES Classic.
Yeah.
So Atari is apparently going that route too, but it's not officially sponsored by Atari, from what I've read.
Oh.
It's being crowdsourced, and it has Atari's approval, but it's not, like, run by the parent company. This appears to be a project of love, which, in my opinion, is probably a good thing. And
okay. So I didn't know that. I keep seeing it everywhere, and I saw that you linked it here, but I didn't actually bother to read an article. I was just like, oh, there's an Atari box thing.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing. And no one knows anything about it, honestly. It's just a quick mention. I just wanted to say, I really haven't ever talked about the Atari games I played, oddly enough, in this whole time we've been doing Atomic Facepalm. I think I've never mentioned an Atari game. Maybe once. And I want to say, I actually played a lot of Atari games. I'm talking about the old 2600 with the little joystick and the orange button.
Yeah, I guess that. Atari was always this thing that you got at a yard sale like in the 90s, and you got like 50 games, and you played them each for 5 minutes. I was like, okay, that's enough of that.
So Atari was the VR of the 80s.
Well, I got it later. Like, I didn't grow up with an Atari. It was something that you got later to me. And you kind of like, oh, all right, wow, we got 50 games, and we're going to burn through all of them in 2 seconds and then throw this thing in the trash and never play it again.
It was weird because most people wanted Ataris, and people ended up getting Nintendos when I was growing up, which was strange. Atari was hard to come by because I think it was kind of near the end of its life cycle. There was no eBay or Craigslist back then. So unless you got lucky at a garage sale, it was really hard to come by them.
Yeah, I don't know. It wasn't anything I grew up really with.
Oh man, I did though.
Yeah?
Like Pitfall, Frogger,
I mean,
Fathom.
I remember all these games, and I've played all these games, but not necessarily on an Atari. Frogger, I played maybe on a Commodore or some sort of computer thing that my stepbrother had. I don't know. It was big and white and giant. And
I love the original Atari. I think this is a good idea. It's been so long. I have a lot of emulators.
Mm-hmm.
Like I played a lot of emulators, but Atari I never really did. I mean, it's so abstract and blocky. The resolution is like 2x2 or something. But just a special shout out here that Atari, you were a part of my life when I was growing up. I have to give you a little bit of credit. So I hope this is successful too. So we mentioned, actually, before we get to Mass Effect, another special shout out here to Nidhog, which is coming out in August. The second
Nidhogg
one, Nidhogg 2.
The second.
Yes, and we actually played that, or I played it at PAX
You played
East.
it. I watched it. It's pretty fun. One of those games that's actually fun to watch. I think almost as fun to watch as to play.
Yeah,
I didn't play it. So
it was fun. It's definitely not a game you're going to invest. It's a party game.
It is a party game for sure. Like that was the one game that had like a crowd of people, and it's the most simple concept where you're like two guys kind of fighting each other, and then you
have to run to the other side of the screen. But there's multiple screens, so I would say, correct myself and say run to the other side of the map, and there's like 4 or 5 screens to get to the other side. And every time you die, the other person will run past you. So it's kind of like a tug of war. It's basically a melee tug of war.
That's a very solid.
And it's very like tongue in cheek. So it's just very abstract, weird, demented teddy bear looking guys, and you just hit each other and bash each other, and you try and get to the other side. And it's really fun. I had a few games that was like just so tense. So I would say I'm actually a little psyched to play this. This would be one I'd want to get on the console. It's more a living room game.
It is a couch game, a party game. You're gonna want people to like stand around and play and cheer, and it was fun.
What was that game called? Now I'm thinking about it. And PAX East. It was like we had to make our levels and farm animals.
Chicken
horse.
Super chicken horse.
We should look up. We should see what's going on with that because I actually would like to get that game.
It's just released. You can just get it.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, we should get it.
Yeah. Super
okay.
chicken party box. It's some
it's
sort
like
of
an ad lib, just throw a bunch of stuff together.
some sort of farm animal thing. It was fun.
And then now we get to it. Now, this was yours. I'm gonna let you tackle this one.
Well, it was just a picture that showed up on Twitter. So apparently somebody on 4chan was at a Goodwill, and they came across a giant box filled of Mass Effect Andromedas. Like, it's like a case, right?
That's like 2 pallets worth.
2 pallets worth? Okay. Yeah. It's like 200 of those just at a Goodwill sitting there being really sad. When I saw this, it made me feel really sad.
It made me feel bad. I feel I'm overly sensitive to emotions, but I feel like there's some sort of like sad, terrible emotions connected with these pallets of games.
I just think about the people that worked really hard on this game, and now it's just sitting at a Goodwill. Like, 3 months later? Just tons of these sitting at a Goodwill. So apparently if you are still interested in Mass Effect Andromeda, head on down to your local Goodwill. Target has probably given off all of their...
This is not a game that came out a long time ago, by the way.
No, it's like 3 months ago, right?
Yeah.
2? 3?
2.
I don't know.
I feel like 2. And these are not pre-played games we're talking about here.
No, they're shrink wrapped.
They're
and
sealed,
again,
mint in
it'll
box.
be a link down below in case you want to Google at that picture to somebody's Twitter status.
It's both funny and really sad.
And actually, I think that this kind of ties into the other story that I wanted to talk about, which is Polygon ran a story which was kind of interesting on what it costs to run an independent video game store. And that is definitely, I'd highlight as my read of the week, because not only is it kind of an interesting read, but they had a photographer go out, and he went from California to New Hampshire and just took photographs of the people that run these stores, the interiors of these stores, and it's kind of cool. And it just really dived into, what their costs are every month, what their challenges are, how they're making money, how they're adapting to people just buying games online for one, or, as soon as a game comes out, it starts off at a $59 price tag, and they buy it for maybe $49 to $55. And then a few weeks later, it's at Goodwill, or it's the person has already the publisher has lowered the price so much that they're losing money when they sell it. One of them, I think it was Battleborn, was one of the games that within 2 weeks of it coming out, it had reduced in price so much that they were losing like $20 on every one that they sold. So it was kind of a really in-depth, long article that I thought was super interesting. And also depressing in the same way that Twitter picture was. Like, just, I still get kind of teared up about like Blockbuster and video stores, video rental stores being gone. But then at the same time, I remember that I really wasn't renting movies anymore. And that's the same way with game stores. Like, I can't remember the last time I went into a game store to buy a physical copy of a game. Yet it makes me sad to think about them all going away. Yeah, I'm part of the problem.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I missed that part of my life. The video store really was just a social hangout.
It was just a different way to browse. Like, I really liked that. You'd, like, pick out a new release, and then you'd go, oh, well, you can get 5 movies for $5 for 5 days of the old stuff, and then you'd go through and like, oh, I never saw that movie. I never saw that movie.
It's also when you had to wait 10 months to a year after it came out in the theater before it came out in the movie store, and they would have limited copies.
Yeah.
It was such a different dynamic back then.
But I still am sad about video stores, and I think that, most of the people that were in this article were projecting 5 to 10 years before they would completely shut down.
Yeah.
They were pointing to the surge in retro games as kind of this thing that has lifted them a little bit, but it's not enough. It really isn't. They're also talking about that being an independent game store, how you have to, this distribution, and you'd have to sign these contracts about not letting people come in and get the game before release date, and how they'd sometimes skirt that to kind of get loyal customers.
Yeah.
Giving them a selling it before the release date, but giving them a receipt that didn't have a date on it, and these different kind of things of how they tried to gain their loyal customers that would come back to them and not go to the GameStop or not go to Amazon Prime to pre-order. And
I was really pretty shocked there are still stores like this in existence.
That was actually the hugest thing. I mean, we live in a rural area, so there's like 2 GameStops in the whole state anyways.
Yeah.
I don't know of a video game store. I know of some tabletop game stores, some Magic gaming stores, but there's nothing. I mean, we have to drive an hour for anything anyways, so we buy online, but
I mean, I would say even tabletop gaming stores and game board stores struggle. The only thing that keeps those guys going, from what I understand, is the social presence. They can provide stuff you can't do at home, like really nice terrain to play on, or having a really large area that you can play Magic tournaments.
Or just meeting players of these games. And
That's what keeps them going. It's more that than what they're selling.
Yeah.
I know video game stores try doing that for a little bit, but it's just not the same. So I feel for these guys too, because these are people that clearly they have a lot of passion for what they're doing, and you want to see games, one of our most enjoyed hobbies, be celebrated. But it's a dying breed.
Yeah, so I thought it was an interesting article. It's definitely, even if you're not going to read it, the pictures were kind of interesting to just, I don't know. It reminded me of, I think like a month ago, somebody found, how in like the 80s they used to have the video recorders set up in the store, and it'd be like, oh, look at this is a camcorder that you can buy.
Yeah.
Well, somebody found one of the tapes that was recorded at the video store or the electronics store in the 80s, and it was such like this time capsule. I was like, holy crap, we forgot what Radio Shacks and those were like in the 80s, and like looking through these pictures in that reminded me of that. It was like this time capsule of 1998 and what it was like to go into a video game store, an independent video game store, because I actually have not been in. I've been in a GameStop, a Best Buy, or whatever, but one of these I haven't seen in a while.
Yeah, the difference between like a Best Buy and like a homegrown store is such a difference.
Yeah, so it's cool article.
Did you want to talk about this last one?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
That was when I was searching for different games that were to play.
Yeah,
I came across that, and I was like, I remember seeing it and saying, whatever. Anyways.
Well, that is it. We actually had quite a bit to talk about, despite, again, only playing like 2 games between the 2 of us that were video games.
So Pyre comes out next week, which I'm pretty excited about.
I'd like to play that.
We've played it a little bit at PAX East, and I am just in love with Supergiant anyways. I'm like the hugest fan.
Yeah.
So this is one of my games that I've been it was on my most anticipated games. Yeah, so this is like, I'm ready for it. So ready.
And Hobbs, still waiting for you, buddy. We got the candle lit, got the meal prepared. All you got to do is just come and sit down, pick up the fork and the knife, start eating. We want you. We want you at our dinner party. I don't know how much more I can stretch that metaphor out.
Yeah,
Not much.
Kind of wondering where you're going with that. So.
I want to eat Hob. That's what I'm trying to say here, Bree.
I think that's gross.
No, Hob. We're hoping it's coming out soon. Because, again, that's, I think, both of our most anticipated game that didn't quite make it because we weren't sure if it was coming out. But it is, and damn it, we want it to be here now. So, however, that is it for us this week. We appreciate you all tuning in. And, again, leave us a comment. That'd be great.
Or follow us on Twitter, subscribe.
You always forget to say that. I don't know why. We're both pretty active on Twitter. So if you want to see what's going on and what we're doing, head there. Anywho, from all of us here, me and Bree at Atomic Facepalm, until we see you next time, good luck.
And have fun.